Welcome to another OCD Recovery Instagram Live. I'm going to be doing question and answers on here again today. So anything you want to ask on OCD, ask away and I will cover on here now. So anything you want to know on your OCD questions, you can ask anything relating to your OCD. People's fears normally quite hidden, things that they don't want to mention, but in reality, all of these things we've heard tons and tons of times before, and it's just a case of asking them and then going through them. So anything you want to ask in relation to your OCD, don't worry about the content of it. You can ask anything on here. So someone get me started with some questions. Is it normal for mine to be worse right now because of quarantine? Absolutely. Because one of the main things that we often tell people who have OCD is to get themselves distracted healthily in life, get themselves busy, and if they're sitting at home with their family doing nothing, it's very easy for them not to be focused inwards on their OCD because they're just stuck with their thinking all the time. So that's not the most ideal situation. So what we do is when we're at home, it's obviously a good... One second, this iPhone charger doesn't move. It's obviously a good idea to read books. Well, you can do the reading from the reading list. So reading the books on the reading list, watching films, not to do necessarily with OCD, just for general life. You can watch some good films that are ones that help you change perspective on life, perhaps, or in relation to OCD, lots of films in relation to exposures and so on. Or just reading good books that help broaden your knowledge, educating yourself, the same as we're watching films that educate you and help change perspective on life. Films have played a big part in changing my understanding of a lot of things in life, and so has reading. If you pick up a big book like Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment, that will take you a while to read. So with this time, you've got the time to read these things. So yeah, sitting down, reading them. And look, most of your life, you spend a lot of time in sort of a so-called quarantine anyway, because you're at home. You're in a situation where when you're at home, you're in that position. But what happens is when it gets sort of locked down and we can't go out, we then think, bloody hell, what am I going to do? But it's actually only a little bit different to the life that we've already had. So it's only a slight variation. Right, let's plug this iPhone charger in, otherwise often the bloody thing runs out. And I have to start all again. Right, let's have a look back at some of these questions. My OCD has been focused on the possibility of my son 12 having OCD. Your son 12 might get OCD. And if he does, he's got a good mum to help him. Why? Because you understand OCD. So he can learn about it early. You can watch out for it. He's got all that, which is fantastic. A lot of people didn't have that. How do you stop washing your hands when that's all we hear at the moment? Well, they might be saying that all the time, but the first thing is, if you actually look at a lot of the main sort of studies on coronavirus, it's mainly transmitted through the air. So it's actually, the washing hands is a helpful thing that they give to the population to do it so that we can see we're doing something, but also to help stop the spread of it. But at the same time, what's the situation is you've got a situation whereby because it's mainly through transmission at home with people and so on, less in the community, it's going to be sort of safe distancing, and if you hand washing the best you can. But I imagine if you make any mistakes with hand washing, it's not going to be the end of the world. And even in the worst case, if you got the coronavirus, you're unlikely to die from it. Very unlikely, so slim. They've only seen very few people without real serious health conditions have died from it without. But obviously we want to stop the spread to our parents and to other older people and so on. So we do need to be cautious. But as we are fallible humans, we may make mistakes. It seems the depression is worse. Yeah, because when you're spending all the time at home, it's easy to feel like the depression is worse because you're in a position where you're sort of sitting at home on your own or whatever. It's not exactly the most ideal situation for mental health. What's the first step to unconditional self-acceptance? Well, I don't think let's go in a position of steps. Just read the book, the first book, How to Stubbornly Refuse to Make Yourself Miserable About Anything by Albert Ellis, and that will sort of help lay out the foundations. But the best book for it is really, you need the first one first, and the second book, The Myth of Self-Esteem, really goes into it, especially chapter 4, Psychotherapy and the Value of a Human, really gets into it in a great way. But yeah, there's no initial first step, it's just a general understanding to help get under there. Can suicidal thoughts be based off intrusive thoughts? I don't really understand the question, if you could just rephrase that. How do you deal with violent and graphic intrusive images? Well, the same as you deal with everything. It doesn't matter having a violent and graphic. If I told you, picture someone dying right now, you could picture it, you wouldn't be scared. You're scared of it coming in all the time and just being there all the time and not releasing, and that's what scares you. It's a case of getting comfortable with it being there, getting comfortable with it replaying it. It used to come on for me just before I went to bed. It used to be there over and over and over, but it's not the end of the world. It can be there. Leave it to be there. Don't try and get rid of it. Welcome it in. I couldn't care what thought I have in relation to any kinds of graphic images or thoughts at any time of day. I couldn't give a damn. That's why it doesn't hold me like it did. Is making sure that the feeling you get after an intrusive thought is anxiety, compulsion? Absolutely, because you want to make sure you're anxious because you're scared of not being anxious, because to you that probably indicates in your mind that it's real, and that's the problem. You need to get comfortable with not being anxious with whatever you feel and not caring either way. For me specifically, I had to get into learning to accept even if it was real, and then it released, which took a lot of practice, and which is what the books outline, and that's what really then got into me having unconditional self-acceptance, regardless of OCD, anxiety, whatever. It didn't matter what was the situation. It applied to all. Those books are not just for OCD and anxiety, they're philosophy for life, so that you no longer disturb yourself. Exposure for my son, fear of my son having OCD, watching documentaries about children with OCD. Ones maybe like the Unstuck kids movie. That's a great one for that. Great film. That would be a good exposure. Did you ever fear that ERP and stopping your compulsions would make you go crazy? The fear of going crazy is a common one. You need to get around that first to understanding what that means and why you're scared of that, and ways to expose to that, and to see, like, there's the fear of going crazy. And what is crazy? It's either like schizophrenia, multiple personality disorder or something. So there's lots of exposures you can do for those. But if I got schizophrenia, I wouldn't like it. It'd be challenging, but I'd adapt and get used to it, because there'd be nothing else to do other than that. Are health and anxiety OCD related? Yes. My brain automatically pushes away the thought, so can it be made to accept as all compulsions are mental? Yeah, because your brain pushing it away because you're too scared of it. We need to bring your fear down first. Those mental rituals will carry on automatically for the time being until we bring the fear down. So it's about bringing the fear down, and then those others will come down. Stopping the automatic cycle is tricky when you're still very scared of it. Is it common to have... Right, I'm back. Is it common to have had OCD patterns for years but not have noticed it until it got really bad? Yeah, you're scared of... these common ones are always reassurance questions, trying to compare to somebody else. So you don't need the answer to that. You can get used to uncertainty there. How to start recovery? Good place to start by reading this page, scrolling down. So much free information on here. Just scroll through the posts and read all those things, or go on my YouTube channel and you'll find loads and loads of things about OCD on there, all for free. Is constant depersonalization normal with OCD? It's about learning to accept depersonalization, not trying to get rid of it. That will sort that out. I've had a fear of schizophrenia. It's not normal. Well, it is. It's very, very, very common with anxiety disorders, having a fear of schizophrenia. So all we need to do is we need to get under that by breaking down the fear, looking at the irrational beliefs involved with schizophrenia, as well as lots of exposures in relation to it, which it's very easy to do once you start building up, looking for things on YouTube, different videos on schizophrenia and so on. How do you deal with solipsism OCD? I cover that in a specific Instagram or a YouTube video. I think it's called Solipsism OCD or Existential OCD on my YouTube channel. So if you go on there and you have a look at it, you will be able to find lots of information about that. Does constantly putting pressure on memory due to OCD make the short-term and long-term memory impaired? You're scared of losing your short-term or long-term memory. I imagine that is the fear. I'm not scared of my suicidal thoughts anymore. Is this bad? You're scared of being suicidal and not noticing it and being okay with it, so that will be the problem there, I imagine. Is having constant songs stuck in your head related to OCD? Yes. Earworm-related OCD, very common, one I used to suffer from myself. It's about getting comfortable with the songs playing out in your head, not trying to get rid of them, even if they play out on and on and on. You can still live your life and do everything the same as people, normal humans do, who do also have that. It's because your fear of it makes it feel much more intrusive. What good are OCD exposures and tips during this time? I'm just sitting with the constant thoughts and anxiety. I cover that in a separate topic on our OCD YouTube channel, my YouTube channel. You'll be able to find lots of stuff on our OCD on there. Good exposures for POCD, I'll cover that in a separate video specific to POCD. How to get over the fear of people being mad at me. Why is people being mad at you such a big deal? Why is it so bad if people are mad? This is the worst that can happen. Fuck you. That's literally all that can happen. How bad is that? It's just someone's opinion, doesn't matter at all. That is literally all that can happen, okay? So getting used to people being mad is one about maybe saying some inappropriate things in conversation or out in the public. It's not going to get you in trouble, but it's just going to get you enough to feel the discomfort. So you can see people just looking a bit weird at you or thinking you're a bit crazy or weird or whatever, and seeing that you can stand it. It's not the end of the world and it doesn't actually matter. How to do exposures for real events. It depends on what the real event is, and then we target that specifically to get in there. Strategies to deal with mental checking and ROCD. I cover that in... strategy to deal with mental checking, you need to bring the fear down, then your brain doesn't need to check, but it's also, it massively is a large part of it is learning to live in the moment, mindfulness approach, learning to distance ourselves with the thought to help with the sort of fused state, but the fused state tends to be in there because of your fear, so until the fear comes down, that fused state does tend to stay a bit locked on. Fear of people leaving you and rejecting is the same as the fear of people being mad, it's all sort of versions of, so all approach similarly. Can OCD be about everything? Yes. How to bring the fear down, as you say often, well, it depends on what the fear is. We have to bring it down by breaking it down, having a look at it, and then we can do that. But to do that, we need to, it depends on what the specific fear is, through exposures, disputing irrational beliefs, to get that down. Thank you for answering my questions, Rob. I know I ask a lot of them. Hope you're having a nice day. Very, very welcome. That is what this is all about. Fear of choking to the point where you prefer to eat less. It's about getting over the fear of choking, the sensation and so on. I used to get that myself with like Spanish ham and stuff. When it used to go down, used to sort of dangle down your throat, and I used to think I was choking, those kind of things. And then I would avoid those foods, and now I eat those foods and so on. So variations there of different ways that we can approach that. The fear of choking, there's many, many ways. I will do a video specifically on that. Is any irrational intrusive through is OCD? Don't understand the question. What is the ERP to sensory motor OCD? I cover sensory motor in a separate video on YouTube. You can see that. Hope you, or if do I cover one on sensory motor on YouTube? I'm not sure. It might be on Facebook videos, and if not, I'll do one. I hope you're having a nice day. Thank you. Should I accept uncertainty with thoughts regarding the coronavirus? Yes, and looking at the fear of what's so scary and seeing what you're so scared of about the coronavirus, so we can break that down. What is it you're so scared of about the coronavirus? Real event OCD years ago hurting me. What can I do? That's usually relating to some form of like harm OCD or something like that. I do cover that on topics, I think, in YouTube. Real event OCD, but I will cover that more. Real event OCD was my main theme. It's what I stuck on for years. So yeah, that's one I'm very familiar with. I've heard you have to find the root cause of your fear. No, you don't have to find the root cause. That's a nonsense psychodynamic method of going back in your history too much. You don't need to do that. You just need to see what you're generally scared of, which we can usually sort of pluck out in a few seconds to see what it is that you're scared of. We don't need to go back rooting through the past for years looking for some root cause that when it fixed everything. Doesn't work like that. No sensory motor, as far as I'm concerned. I haven't done one. I've been told off. Thanks, Mumajed. I will definitely do a sensory motor video. Is awareness help to recover a bit from intrusive thoughts? Don't understand that question. How to break down fears and how does breaking them down help? Breaking down is in disputing irrational beliefs, as Albert Ellis talks about, the founder of CBT. So yeah, that's how we do that. Disputing those, not disputing, like putting up a force shield, trying to break them down all day long, but disputing for a bit each day so that we help break down the irrational beliefs till we adopt a healthy, rational alternative. Sensory motor is missing. I see, yeah, I've got to do sensory motor, it seems. I have to get that done. I will do that for you guys, 100%. Any other questions you want to ask me today, please ask me about OCD. That is what I'm here for. And I can't bloody go anywhere because I'm on quarantine here, so there's not much I can do. Hope you're doing some fun things during quarantine. Yeah, exactly. What are some of your favourite things to watch? Trying to add some fun here. We like adding fun. That's the whole point of this stuff, having a laugh with OCD. What am I doing? I'm going to start Narcos Mexico tonight. I've been putting that off when there wasn't a quarantine because I know that's going to suck away my time, but it doesn't really matter during this quarantine period, so I'll be looking forward to that. What else do I want to watch? I've been watching a lot of documentaries. Watched Oasis, Supersonic one yesterday. That was brilliant. I loved that. What other documentaries? Yeah, a lot of documentaries and things like that, I think. Reading. I'll probably get quite a bit of reading done. Finishing some Dostoevsky books that I'm reading, and I will be working a lot because obviously I've got time when I'm here, doing a lot of Instagram lives and getting things covered, like that sensory motor topic that I've just been told about. Have to get that done. Let's have a look here. I mean, the fact to be aware that the intrusive thoughts are just intrusive. Does it help? Yeah, intrusive thoughts are intrusive, but don't try and sort of lock them down as this one's not real. This is intrusive, and I don't want it. I've got to make sure it's intrusive thought and not real, because you're going to go around in circles all the time, because it's going to you're going to try and I've got to prove. It's an intrusive thought. It's OCD and it's not real, and that's an endless bloody cycle that never bloody ends. So it's about dealing with all of it with uncertainty and not knowing it, and whatever you feel and whatever you experience, you don't need to. You have a rough idea it's OCD, but then OCD sort of morphs around and then convinces you, no, this is real, this one is real, this is different. So have a rough idea, approach them all a bit similarly. Maximum time to get recovered, that's always a question of someone who's scared, or what if it takes me 10 years, 20 years? Yeah, some people never get better. There's the worst case scenario. I keep obsessing that I'm not going to be attracted to men ever again. I always have been, but now, in relation to that, when I say people never get better, that's because people always do get better if they do all the work and the homeworks and get everything done, but some people don't, and they don't understand that or don't know that or never find that out, so that's why they don't get better. I keep obsessing that I'm not going to be attracted to men ever again. I always have been, but now I'm scared. Yeah, I cover that in the ROCD videos specifically. That's a very, very common one. It will make you feel absolutely convinced that you're not going to feel attraction, you're going to feel separate. So it will do that. Is repeating certain words I hear until they sound right to me? No, absolutely. You're trying to get a feeling, a sort of just right OCD feeling, just to get everything nice and comfortable. You've got to get used to feeling uncomfortable and used to it not feeling right. That's the key. I'm super scared of my boss being angry at me. Who gives a fuck about what a boss does in reality? I'm not saying I can understand your concern, absolutely, but I want to highlight the point. What's a boss going to do? Say, like I said earlier, I said the worst that someone can say to you is fuck you. What could a boss do? He could say the same. Fuck you, get out of my office. How bad is that? That's literally all he can do. So it's not that scary in the reality. Stop chasing feelings, stop the fight and carry on with life. Absolutely. How to do ERP when everything you feel is like a life or death scenario? Well, you can still do ERP, but we've just got to break it down smaller to look at things that approach it from different angles, because you probably haven't done that. And then we get under it like that, which is very, very important. How do we accept fear of eternal hellfire? That's religious OCD. I do have a video, I think, on that. Again, if I haven't done religious OCD, I will cover that. And in a specific one in relation to that. It's a very, very common one. There's variations of that, how fear of eternal hellfire, fear of pain after death, all that kind of stuff in different existential formats too. All right, guys, I think I've covered. Where do you get all this energy to help people with OCD? Well, put it like this. If you've been stuck with OCD for so long in the past, I know that I think that it's a very, very sad situation that so many people are still stuck like that. So I wanted to put my energy into changing OCD in the world, which I think I will be able to do. And I sort of set out a 10-year plan to do that. And so that's where I'm working through that. And so that motivates me and drives me on. Plus, I obviously run the business, which is OCD recovery, working with all the people I do. So it's a full-time job that I'm running all the time. So there's lots of different aspects that drive you, but the main driving force is trying to get OCD changed, because it's a disorder that's definitely treatable, and it's just very, very badly dealt with, and people don't have the knowledge, and it's not delivered properly, and so I thought I've got to get that done, basically. How do you do unconditional self-acceptance? For the books is a great place to start, from the reading list. With my fear that I'm not attracted to men anymore, I'm avoiding watching all my favourite movies. Watch your favourite movies. That's the exposure you need to do. My therapist doesn't get the point with CBT, and I just feel like I'm never going to recover. You've got to get somebody who understands OCD, really fully understands it. Will your book be enough for recovery? Bloody hope so, but it's taken me a while to write that. Now everyone's going to say, but you're in quarantine, you can write your book now. I could do, but I'm writing a bit of it, but it's taken a while. I've got a lot of ideas for how the book's going to pan out, and it takes a while to put it all into position, but it will get done at some point. That's why I try and do a lot of these Instagram lives in between, because I know I'm very slow with the book. What is your one-line advice for responsibility OCD? I'm thinking of this in this second. It's not a pre-planned answer, but I would say humans are fallible. Humans do things like kill and attack and fight and everything, and they've done that since the beginning of time. So humans can act in these wrong ways. They're fallible. So yeah, that's the reality of it. Is it normal to think I have the coronavirus? Absolutely. It's one of the most common questions I get all the time at the moment. Thanks, Rob, for help with this and supporting the community. Always welcome, and love speaking to all of you guys and asking me lots of questions. I'll be on here in these question and answer formats regularly during this quarantine period, and I will see you guys back on here next time. All right, guys, see you later.